So you mentioned that you had talked to these 20 pastors and two of them are making disciples. I spent years trying to understand why this was happening because part of what I noticed was that when I talked to pastors about discipleship and disciple making, they really, I could tell in their heart, really wanted to do it. They really believed in it, but there was something that was really hard for them to get over. And I was like, what exactly is it? And I finally kind of like diagnosed it this way. And you guys are overcoming this. So I want to ask you about this. So the way I diagnose what they're really struggling with, this is the pastor who I know in their heart really wants to make disciples, but is not doing it. I think that they're struggling with, I call it the institutional survival problem. So basically, they are in a model of church that rewards or actually to even survive. And, some churches are just absolutely thriving. And so I don't think they struggle with this problem nearly as much. But I have a lot of empathy for the pastor of the small, struggling church who wants to be a disciple maker, because part of what they are really wrestling with is a question of how would I present to the people that are following me, that are coming to this church? How do I present what a week in the life of being a fully active member of our church looks like? And the way that I see that going is a pastor who says to himself, I want to create a church that multiplies disciples. Well, the first part of that equation is they have to have a church that actually survives. If you're going to be a church that multiplies disciples, you have to be a church. Well, to survive as a church, there are three rhythms that are really important to emphasize. Otherwise, the church itself as a like entity usually ceases to exist. People have to attend a worship service on a regular basis. But if you just attend a worship service and don't make meaningful relationships, then you're gonna leave out the back door. So pastors have known this for decades now. So they start small group ministries. You need everybody to attend the worship service. You need everybody to attend or be a part of a small group ministry, and you need everybody to, now you've got like lots of ministries, kids ministries, small group leaders. So you need people, if they can give you three rhythms, you need those people to serve in a ministry. So if they can only give you one rhythm, attend the worship service. If you can do two rhythms a week, attend a worship service and attend a small group. If you can give us three rhythms a week, attend the worship service, the small group, and serve in a ministry. Now that's just to survive. So the question that I start to ask is, okay, what percentage of people give you a fourth rhythm? And that fourth rhythm, it's competing for, the missions team and and the disciple makers and the men's ministry. And so this is the equation I keep seeing pastors get stuck with. And so they're like, hey, I want to make disciples, but I have to emphasize these other three rhythms. How would you talk to and encourage a pastor who might be listening to this, who's like, I'm struggling with this institutional survival problem, and I'm emphasizing these three things, and that's the real reason we're not making disciples.
I would ask the question, and that's very real, very real. Every pastor is wrestling with the time, and we're full time, and we're asking people
Right.
that are not full time.
Right.
I mean, if you do Sunday morning, an hour and a half, right? Then you got be in a small group, another 2 hours, maybe twice a month, maybe every week. I mean, serve. You're asking them 4 hours a week, five
Right.
hours a week, and they're going. I got kids soccer. I got blah, 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 blah. But I would argue, are those the things that will help us survive? Actually,
Okay. Yeah.
that's I would rethink. Are those actually the four things that help us survive?
And how would
And
you
if we,
reorder it, or how would you critique it?
yeah, I would critique it to say, if we were like the early church and we weren't getting paid,
Mm.
right? We were all the priesthood of all believers. I was a carpenter, and and again, I know we lived all in the same town and blah 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 blah. Would we have a gathering to celebrate what God has done? Uh-huh. And then we go out and we would make disciples. And I think we've been our own worst enemy in terms of, like, we've got everything, all this time and energy around these systems that we have to do. And I just think, if we really want to thrive and not just survive, wouldn't we make disciple makers? Wouldn't that
Yes.
be the number one priority? And say, you know what, I don't care if people are in a small group. We'd actually say, I don't care if people are in a small group, because those will be our small groups.
Yes.
We'll reorder that. I don't actually care if they serve.
So you,
I
you
have to
would
have
bump
kids
disciple
ministry.
making to the number one
It's number
rhythm,
one.
and
It's
and
got to
and
be number
say
one.
you can survive this challenge if you bump this to number one.
Not only can you survive, you'll thrive.
Yeah.
Like, you'll actually see greater energy, greater, like it's you'll see. So let's just say, so right now we started with our 18 best disciple makers. Right now we're at iteration 2, and
Okay.
like you just said, 3 and 4 are where that's where the money's going to be. So right now we start with our 18 best. We've got 89 in disciple maker groups,
Okay.
and we're in March we started October iteration 2.
Okay.
We will know next November how many of those. If I get 50 of those to do triads,
Yeah.
man, we're winning. We're still
Yeah.
at 150, right? We're still
Yes.
now, but the 89 that are in those, the engagement level. I mean, I'm like, he's serving children's ministry.
Mm.
She's serving over like they want to be more engaged. It's
Yes.
like there's a level of like, but we put it out of order. We try to get them serving in coffee.
Right.
We get them making
Well, it's
coffee
like what you
fine.
experienced. I mean, it's exactly what you described in your story is
Yes.
that when you went and said, "Hey, can somebody disciple me? I want to become a follower of Jesus." They're like, "Sure, why don't you serve in a ministry?" And what people don't realize is when you say that to people, it's so transparent that what you're actually saying is, that this institution is more important than the movement.
Yes.
And so you're saying, like, put the
Yes.
movement first. We're all in the movement, and the institution will get all the help it needs if you've got this multiplying disciple making movement.
We will thrive. If we had
Right.
churches based on disciple making, the church would explode.
Yeah.
Really, we wouldn't have a volunteer problem.
Right.
Me,
Yeah.
I'm leading, right. And by the way, as a lead pastor, and I know someone said, well, you're part of a mega church and you've got a staff. I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. But I did this at North Star
Mhm.
when we were small, and my teammate David Smith, we just said our number one thing is we're gonna grab guys. We're gonna start, and again, we did it wrong a lot, but we just and those David Smith is one of the strongest disciple makers in this city. He's a discipler, and he's a great leader. He's a great strategic thinker, but he's a disciple maker first,
Mm.
right? Chris Marlin is another one in our city.
Yes.
Chris Marlin is a disciple maker. I love that guy.
Yeah.
He gets it. He understands it. We've got to make disciple makers, and if we don't, and their church is growing healthy. It's growing, but through health, and more people, and they stick as they're connected. And so anyway, I just think pastors have got to get in their brain. I am a disciple maker first. If you take my salary away, that's what I'm here to do.
Yes.
When you have a pastor say, I'm here to throw a gathering and to run an institution, I know they're not happy about it.
Yeah.
I talk to them. They're not loving what they're doing. They're going, this isn't what I signed up for.
Right.
I mean, I talk to guys, and they're like, or women, and they're like, oh, yeah, I spent 25 hours on my talk prep. I'm like, how hard can I bang my head on the table?
Mm.
Like, look at your spouse. How soon did your spouse forget your own talk? Sunday night at 6. It's like, you don't even remember your own talk. And I'm
Right.
not saying it's not good, but
Right.
that is
You call it the front
not
door.
where
It's almost
it's a
like
front door
you're
thing.
saying, look, I'm gathering people to the movement, and this is how this, the reality is the way that things are in our culture. If somebody is looking for Christ, if somebody is starting to have an interest in spiritual things and they want to check out Christianity, they're going to walk into a church service.
That's right.
And so
That's right.
the evangelistic opportunity is enormous in having a front door like that. But if
That's
you
right.
don't have a really clean connection between them coming to faith and then getting discipled, then what are you doing? Like, what is this that we're
Right.
creating? And this then
That's right.
becomes instead of it being a fishing pond, it's like the holding pond.